Hi, this is Dr. Wendy Rowley, and this is the episode 10 of the Heartfield series. So we know from work of a place called Heart Math in California, you might have heard of it, that your heart field is a very profound and strong electromagnetic field. It's a stronger frequency than the brain. And so another reason why you should protect your brain and not have cell phones held right to your ear. They say there's an uptick of acoustic neuromas, which are benign tumors of the auditory nerves from cell phones. Not to be alarming, but so you can get these things called air tubes, which is what I use. I'm actually using a set right now to sort of hear the audio for this taping. And so there's no wiring that goes up to the brain. And I make sure I have a jack for my phone and I plug these in and I keep my phone down here. Anyway, the heart field, though, is a very strong field and it's a very large, I've seen it at times look like a torus around the upper part of the body. And in the work that we're learning about the field, that very benevolent place that we all are connected into. Ali mentioned in another channeling recently for the National Ancestral Healing Connection for Women. In the fourth one, she mentioned that, and she's mentioned it to me before, that we have our bubble, our inner torus, which is the aura and our body and spirit body, and that's our higher self. And then we have the outer torus, which is our galactic records of all our souls have been. The higher self you can think of as the earth records of all the time information you've accumulated in the wisdom and the spiritual experiences and your spiritual knowledge. Edgar Cayce said it's only your spiritual knowledge that you take back with you that you gained. And whatever that means, this could be another discussion. But then your outer torus is your galactic records. It's all you've ever experienced. It's all your soul has learned. And it's just got to be magnificent. Can you imagine all those experiences that our amnesia of this incarnation in this body, we forget. But there seems to be a lot of connection coming in to access that information more and more. But anyway, that and Aline is in the Heartfield series last time explained, she's getting deeper into explaining these upper chakras, the sensing chakras up to aspects of the 5 soul correspondences. And then she said those go out and connect to the field. And she has said, and she made reference to it, that in the field is the heart of the supreme being. She's almost referred to it as a supreme being engine, which is actually another term that's used for something up in your upper 7th higher creational, 7th chakra, higher creational aspects. There's something called the supreme being engine up there, which is the same as that 1,000-petaled lotus. So she tends to be very techie. The Pleiadians have a lot to do with, they say, giving us our spiritual anatomy. And so she tends to be a little techie the way she describes things and trying to make us have an understanding of them. And so she has said there's really nothing in the field but the heart of the creator, the creational heart of the creator that's then connected to this concept of the divine blueprint. And she's also said that there's the divine blueprint, sort of like an outline, and then what each group of souls create within that outline is unique for each planet. And so this idea that this heart is connected to this creational energy, which is then connected to the creator and is connected to this field with the supreme being heart, it's like, what is that? It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting picture. It's techie, but it's also kind of a benevolent picture. So I think we're going to learn a little bit more about that in this session. Anyway, I'm going to get out of the way and see what she has to say. Thanks for tuning in. And if you would, subscribe in case I forget. Ah, good day to you, dearest beings of light. Alieni of cosmic service, Pleiadian mother of sound. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. This one has allowed us to speak through her because she enjoys the exchange of information. And when you channel, all it is an exchange of information. It should not be a takeover, a giving of yourself to another, a giving up your space or your journey or your path as a soul in a body on the earth. It is simply an exchange of information. So we give you new information about your outer torus, your galactic records, the anatomy of it, so that you learn, as this one has so aptly named her website, the wonder of human design. That this concept that you are low or born in sin or that you need to be saved is just so not true. Maybe in your earlier soul's journey on the earth, you stumble. This one said if she wrote a book, it would be called Stumbling Toward the Light, because life is messy and it's hard but this concept of hanging on to your amazing divinity. And in every movie that you watch, the hero is someone who has that conviction. They eventually put on this one said their big girl pants or their big boy pants and say, I can do this. And that's part of that soul power. And this one is contemplated. When do you open your heart to compassion and intuitive knowing when to help someone and when not to, and when to help them so that they are brought up in that help and then can go on their way, and when not to help someone so that they pull in their soul and their strength and they learn through the experience of it that way. And she wants to learn that more so she knows when is the right time to step in to help someone. Because you can spend your life when you're a giver and a healer just helping, and you get burned out, as this one has had the experience. So there's a wisdom at the galactic level of that knowing. So we were going to relate these soul chakras, as we did last time, to the soul centers out in the outer torus that are aspects or apparatus. And apparatus, we said we would explain, but we didn't last time. And apparatus we think of as parts of things that work together for a function. So for instance, one of the soul senses or soul chakra senses here might be operating with one or two of the soul aspects up in the outer torus of your galactic soul anatomy, spiritual anatomy, and that is creating a particular function. And so that is why we refer to certain parts of the body as apparatus, meaning they have multifunction. What does an aspect mean? An aspect means that it is fulfilling one of the aspects of the creative source of what you call God. For your journey on earth and your journey as you look into the clairvoyance, if you're a healer, or if you look into yourself, is not to see what you have done wrong, is not to see yourself in the low way, but to find that aspect of the creative source within what you are experiencing. Is it meaning to be more patient? Is it meaning to find the wisdom on what is for the best and highest good, on whether to help or not help? Is it to find the compassion and understanding for what that person is going to and giving them the space to be messy and in pain? That's a very hard thing to do. We want to help people, or we want to actually get them to stop because it's making us uncomfortable. So we comfort them, and it makes the person pull in and pull back. It's a great gift to actually allow someone to be messy and to cry and to get it out. They need to do that. It's part of processing. Because what happens when you cry? We're off on a side tangent here, but what happens when you cry? You're doing this with your voice and you are moving energy. Your tears are actually a healing aspect of your interface of your 5 spiritual and physical senses to these soul senses in the back. It's actually a benevolent thing. So sometimes maybe you just need to let someone have a good cry, and you encourage them, let it out. You take as much time as you need. All right. So an aspect of the creator is one of the attributes of the creative source. For if the source is love, then there are many aspects that represent what that love is. So that's what an aspect is. So what does it mean that this heart field that you have and these creational energies and parts of your spiritual anatomy and your spirit body that go to this outer torus, to these galactic records, and go out to the field of all of you? The field is your bubble, the 26-foot wide bubble with the galactic and the soul's all records and the higher self and the earth records, and a human here with all of that, and another human here with all of that, and all of you together make up an aspect of the field. And then the other aspect of the field is the creator who created in love to create all of this, to create angels, archangels, and arachai, large groups of archangels who have missions and purposes in the creating of planets and systems and galaxies, and soul groups who come in and do the work in a planetary system. And so the field is a combination of these different levels, and interfaced with it is the heart of the creator. Because what if all the universes and all the worlds and all the galaxies you see when you look out into space are simply the heart field of the creative source? And where's the creative source? Does it matter? Doesn't it matter that you're connected to that? They show science fiction movies of people on the journey to find the source, and they always run into trouble. Notice that, because maybe there is no one source. Maybe you all are the source. Maybe we all are the source. No one quite knows, but we do know that there is a creational aspect that is behind every planetary system. As we've said in other channels, there is a Christ, an overarching Christ type energy, different names, but that brings in the light so those who go down into form can find their way back to their soul group. There is a system of planetary energies, of planets that become embodied by souls to do work of spiritualizing the material. So what does it mean when these things in the outer torus are aspects that create apparatus that do functions of the galactic level, of groups of souls doing benevolent work, which you're seeing more and more of on the internet? You're seeing more and more pioneers that started back in the 80s, bringing groups of people together, large groups. And the internet has come in at this time to connect large groups. Humans bring in the inventions when they're needed, when the consciousness is ready for them. And so you have now groups of people that are going to, as this one said in the last women's seminar, and we'll say it here, groups of people are going to come together to do profound healing work at the level of tribes and nations. And so that is a response of the field of groups of souls tuning to that higher level of angel, archangel, and arachai who serve the blueprints and the evolution and the bringing in of new aspects into the soul level of all people. And the migration going on, this one is confused by that in some ways. We're off on another side. Rudolf Steiner said that migrations were he was an adept that was in the German Swiss area in the early 1900s. And he said that the migration of peoples, large groups of peoples around the earth, happens at a timely fashion and is the arachai who are stimulating their soul group. And what that does is it brings different groups of people to different areas to prosper. And they actually send energy back to the lower level that they left, that raises that level for those who stay behind. So there is a great purpose of migration. It's a messy process. It's a confusing process. There's fear in it. There's a sense of lack in it, lack of those who are coming to get more, lack of those who have more, afraid they'll have less. It's a messy human experience, but there is a beautiful, beautiful and divine aspect behind it that is going on. So you have that stimulation going on. And then you have the light workers and the healers who are bringing in the work of getting people together to work and heal the human crystalline grid. And that is happening. So all of this is the response at the soul engine, soul heart level in the field that groups of souls are responding to. Because you have the field with these two levels of the incoming impulses and the humans in soul groups responding to that, different bubbles with different groups and missions and purposes. And then they're forming into little things. And so that's what we wanted to explain about that it's a simple way we've said it. It's got a lot more in that field that you are unable to see yet, but as you develop equipment to see into that, and you develop equipment to see into the atomic level, and you discover those other unknown forces besides electromagnetic, weak and strong nuclear, and you find these two other forces, and you go to 12 base math and all the things that others have talked about. When all that comes together in maybe 50 to 100 more years, you're going to see a lot more. And you're going to start to understand that there is an apparatus, that there is something that is so profound that goes on at the creational level that it has to be divinely inspired. And so we're sharing with you a little bit of that picture this day. Remember, you are dearly loved. Expect benevolence in all you do. Remember, life is messy, but you do the best you can. And try to attune, align, and remain heart-focused in the love of the Creator and the creative source, because that is like your beacon of light to that source. So there is a reason why prayer works, why meditation works, why having some sort of daily practice, even if it's 5 minutes, and you sit and you attune to the divinity within you. It keeps you attuned. Peace be with you again, and we bid you adieu. Okay, so we're going to call that a session. We might have gone over the 15 minutes of normal, but you never know what's coming. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.